Hey, you guys. It is another Talk About It Thursday. Give yourself a round of applause for making it for another week. You know, we're almost at our Friday. You know, Monday, we're always wishing for Friday, and now we're almost there, you guys. So let me know when you're on. I'll be glad to say hello to you. We'll give you guys just a few minutes to jump on, and then we'll get started for this evening. And I am your host, Karen Bailey. Hello. I think I see Chick up there. Hey, boo. Good to see you. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. Hey. I hope you're having a good week, sweetheart. Hopefully you're having a good week. I know your clinic is probably just as busy and as crazy as mine is, so I'm in the trenches with you, so trust me. I know what you go through on a daily basis. So know that you are appreciated because you've always helped me every time I've called over there, so I truly thank you for that. I do, because good help is so hard to find. And I know somebody can give me an amen on that, because we've all worked with people that do little to as much as they possibly can not to do work. So you have to appreciate those that are doing their job, and they do it with excellence. So I applaud you, Chick. You have always been very professional. So I thank you so much because you've helped us out quite a bit. You guys, we're going to go ahead and get started for today. Our topic today is, can we talk for a minute? You know, a lot of times people think conversations have to be just super long to be effective. Really, they don't. A lot of times it's all about you deciding that you're willing to step in there, get in there with somebody, and just have a real conversation. A lot of times with technology the way it is now, people don't really want to do the face-to-face talking anymore. Hey, Pam. Hey, Kinsley. People are so quick to text, and I'm just as guilty as everybody else, but I'm trying really hard to do better about having that face-to-face time, making time to call my friends and check on them, you know, besides just sending a quick text. Now, a quick text is good if you don't have a lot of time, but we all can make time for whatever we want to make time for. We all know that. So when you hear those words, you know, from your spouse or from your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and they say, can we talk? Does it make you nervous? Most people get nervous about that simply because it kind of has a negative connotation, like what's wrong? You know, a lot of people equate can we talk with what's wrong? And it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to mean something is wrong. It means we need to communicate about something. We need to talk for just a minute. And a lot of times, you know, people are getting that impression from what they've gone through in their past when you've only heard negative things. When somebody says, hey, can we talk for a minute? Then it makes you a little leery. The first thing that jumps in your mind is, uh-oh, we got a problem. But we need to turn that around, you guys, and stop getting to the point where people are afraid to talk to us. You know, sometimes we fuss too much. You know I've done it in the past, and I'm trying to do better about that. But sometimes we fuss too much when we come with that, can we talk for a minute? We're coming to get you straight about something, or we're coming to, you know, get some clarity about something, but sometimes we come the wrong way. And that's what I want to talk about today, is coming to people with respect, coming to people in love, coming to people where when you say, hey, can we talk for a minute, that they don't have that anxious feeling inside of them, like, okay, what have I done now? Because I know a lot of men, you know, when they hear us women say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? They're thinking, oh man, now what? And let's try to do better with that, you guys, so that they don't always think that something is wrong all the time. Communication is absolutely normal. That's what we should be doing between two human beings. But it shouldn't be that the other person is afraid to talk to us because of our past behaviors. We're going to change those behaviors future, but we can't do anything about what we did in the past. But those past behaviors, every time that phrase was used, it was a problem, or it was an argument, or, you know, it was finna go down. So let's do better with our future use of this word, and let's use it to communicate, to get closer to people, and let's use it to get clarity about something that we're confused about. Let's use it to be able to say, can we talk for a minute so I can see how I can help you? So let's change that around, you guys. Like I said, you can't do anything about what you've done in the past, but we can always do better today and tomorrow. Ask yourself, do you actively listen? When you ask somebody to come and talk to you, are you the one doing all the talking? Or do you actually listen to what they have to say? Is it a one-sided conversation is what I'm asking. Because you got to understand, anytime you pull somebody in a conversation, they do have a right to respond. So if it's going to be a true conversation, a real conversation, a productive conversation, you have to be willing to accept the feedback that you're going to get from that person that you're conversating with. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. That's how you make sure there's no misunderstandings. You have to listen and they have to listen. It can't be just one person talking all the time. And if you're guilty of that, if you're guilty of fussing all the time, or if you're guilty of when you call your spouse and you say, hey, we need to talk, it's all in that tone. If you coming at them like that, then more than likely they're going to try to do their best to get away from you or try to avoid that conversation. And that's what we don't want. We're all children of God, so people ought to want to talk to us. We ought to have some compassion. We ought to be the ones that get the right understanding, because that's what we should do. Even in the word it says, with all thy getting, get an understanding. You want to get a good understanding, and the only way you can do that is by sitting down and talking to someone. But you also have to be quiet long enough to listen to what they have to say. And let's talk about things we must learn how to communicate. You know, we all know communication is talking back and forth, sharing ideas, this, that, and the other. But do you really know how to communicate certain things without upsetting people, without hurting somebody's feelings, without turning that person off? You know, those are the things we need to learn how to communicate. One of the first things we need to learn, and it's not something that you get overnight. You know, there's trial and error. We need to learn how to communicate trust. You know, if you're always talking about what somebody else did to you, this, that, and the other, your past relationships, or I just don't trust anybody anymore, you're communicating to that person that they're never going to get your trust. And the only way that you can change that is you have to decide for yourself that this person is not the person that hurt me before. This person is not the person that did that to me in the past. So we need to learn how to communicate trust. And like I said before, and last week we talked about the interview. You know, interview people so you can see what you can trust them with. You can't trust everybody with everything, but you do need to be able to communicate trust. You need to say to someone, if you're trying to trust them with something, let them know, okay, I want you to do this for me, and I believe you're going to do it, and I look forward to the results of it. That's communicating trust. You're telling them, I'm giving you this, and I'm going to see what you're going to do with it, and I'm expecting you to do what you're supposed to do with. That's how you communicate trust. But let go of all those feelings of not being able to trust somebody. Don't make the new person pay for what everybody else has done. Don't make your new friends pay for what your old friends did. You know, if your old friends didn't have your back, or your old friends talked about you, when you get a new friend, don't automatically link them into that category. You have to communicate trust and let them know that, you know what, I'm going to share this with you. I want to share this with you because I believe I can trust you with that. And that is so important, that people know that you think enough of them that you can trust them with some things. So we need to learn how to communicate trust. And life is a gamble. We all know it, y'all. You know, we're going to hit and we're going to miss sometimes. Sometimes we're going to trust people with something that we shouldn't have trusted them with. But the only way to know is to step out there and try. So we need to learn how to communicate trust and let people know that they're valuable enough, that we trust them, and that we see them as a person of integrity to where we can trust them with things. They can be accountable. We can rely on them. So we need to learn how to communicate trust, you guys. Another thing we need to learn how to communicate is our emotions. and our feelings. Are you all over the place? Are you yelling and screaming, just trying to make somebody understand how you feel? You're not doing a good job of communicating. Because guess what? All they're doing is paying attention to the sound of your voice, how loud you are, those tears you're crying. You're not really getting anything across to them because they're watching your body language. They're watching what you're doing. So we need to do a better job of communicating our feelings and communicating our emotions. If something is bothering you, you need to be able to sit down and say, hey, I just want to talk to you about this. What you did, it really bothered me, and I'm going to ask that you don't do it anymore because this is why, that gets up under my skin, or this is why that bothers me so much. Learn how to talk your emotions, not yell and scream and throw fits, this, that, and the other, because people can't hear you when you're doing all of that. All they're doing is watching you and watching your behavior. And in the end, half of the stuff that you're saying, they're not even hearing because they're too busy watching this emotional roller coaster that you're on. All this yelling and screaming and hollering that you're doing, that's what's got their attention, not the words that are coming out of your mouth. So we need to learn how to gather ourselves together when we're upset about something, or something is bothering us, or someone has hurt our feelings. Gather yourself together before you sit down and talk to that person, and come correct. Don't come with your attitude. Don't come with all this yelling and screaming and stuff, because you're wasting your time. Nobody can hear you with all of that. So we need to learn how to communicate our feelings and our emotions. We also need to communicate when we're hurt. A lot of times people don't know how to tell you when you've done something to hurt them. But it's necessary, because if you don't talk about those things, if you don't communicate those things, God knows I'm a living witness. I used to let stuff go that really hurt me, or just tried not to rock the boat. And that stuff really festered up, and it turned into bitterness. It turned into resentment. And that's what you don't want, because it's so hard to get rid of that stuff, you guys. I've been there, I've done that, and it took a lot of work to let go of some stuff that if I had just said something at the time that it was happening, my life would have been easier. And a lot of times we won't communicate when somebody's hurt us, or that we don't like something that they did, simply because we're afraid of running them away. Well, I'm going to tell you guys, I would rather run them away early than spend a bunch of time being hurt by them. That's just me. If I need to run you away early just to keep from hurting for 2, 3, 4, 10 years, then it's worth it. If you run away, that's fine, but I'm going to speak up when you hurt me. I'm going to speak up when I don't like something. And there's a way to do that. That's not with yelling. That's not with anger. That's that conversation. Can we talk for a minute? And you just lay it out, make it plain, without all the emotions, all the attitude. Just make it plain. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Lay it out when it happened, how it happened, and just say, I would appreciate if you wouldn't do this anymore, because this really hurt me. You have a right to express that to somebody, so they don't keep doing the same things to you over and over again. Also, we need to learn how to communicate anger. When somebody has upset us so much, we need to learn to take a chill pill. If you can't talk to somebody without raising your voice, without raising your fist, then you need to go and take a break. You need to walk away and come to that conversation later. Yes, you're angry. There's a way to communicate that. But while it's still hot, while that fire is still fueling through you and coming out your nose and ears and everything, you need to go take a walk. You need to take a break. Don't try to talk to somebody when you're that angry. That's when mistakes are made. That's when you say things that you don't really mean, and you say things that you can never take back. So never talk to somebody in anger while you're angry until you've had your time to calm down and talk to them in the proper manner to keep from escalating the situation. So we all need to learn a better way of communicating our anger, because we're all guilty of coming at people hot, and we got what we got simply because of how we came to them. And most of the time it's disastrous because we didn't come into that situation right. So take time to calm down, get your thoughts together, however long it takes, and then come back to the table later, okay? Another thing we need to learn how to communicate is compassion. When you're listening to somebody, they really need to talk to you. Don't be rolling your eyes and acting like it's not anything. It may not be anything to you, but it may be just tearing them up on the inside. If you don't have anything nice to say, as your mom used to tell you, don't say nothing at all. Sometimes you just need to listen. That's compassion, just listening. You don't always have to put your 2 cents in all the time. Sometimes you just need to listen and let that person get that off their chest. Hey, LaTonya, get that off your chest. And then another thing we need to communicate is regret, which is basically learn how to say you're sorry. Learn how to say I made a mistake and communicate that. And especially if you've offended somebody or if you've hurt somebody, we need to go back and we need to communicate to them that you regret what you did to them. I regret what I said to you. I regret how I dealt with that situation. But it takes a big person to come back and say, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Those 2 words, I'm sorry, shut a whole lot of mess down. And a lot of times that's all a person is waiting for, is to hear those 2 words, I'm sorry. But we allow our pride to get in the way, and that's how things fester for years and years and years. But we have to learn how to say I'm sorry and I regret what I did. And people need to hear that, because that's how you're going to get that forgiveness that we all need. Some people won't forgive you for things, but at least you will have done your part and you stepped to them like an adult, like a man or a woman, and said, hey, I'm woman enough to say I messed up. I don't know why I did that. Or maybe you do know why you did that. Tell them why you did it. Whether it's wrong or right, tell them I did this, because I was feeling insecure. I did this because I thought you didn't like me. I did this because I heard you said this about me. Tell people why you did what you did. Hey, Ruth. And then be woman enough or man enough. Thank you, boo-boo. Man or woman enough to say, I'm sorry. Man enough and woman enough to say, I regret what I did to you. So we got to grow up, you guys, because that's the only way we're going to be able to stay together. Somebody has to be the adult, okay? And then we need to learn how to value other people's time. Sometimes, you can keep stuff bottled up for so long, and then the first person that comes your way, that first friend that's checking on you, or that first friend that you run into, you just bombard them with all of your stuff. And that's not fair to do that to somebody, because we can't handle all of that. We got our own lives. We have our own stuff we're dealing with. So value other people's time so that they will want to talk to you again, and they won't be dodging you if they see you before you see them. We've all gone through that with people that they just suck all the life out of you, with everything that's been going on with them, and they never turn around and say, you know what? I know you're busy, so I'm going to let you go, girl, and we'll talk again later. So we need to learn how to communicate that we value other people's time, because that is so important. And that gets you invited back to the next conversation when people know that you respect their time. So that's very important, you guys. And I know some people are just naturally long-winded, but you need to work on that. You long-winded. Work on it. Bring it down. People got a lot of stuff going on. Give them a little bit. Listen to what they got going on in their life. And then y'all can have a conversation another day. But we need to learn how to respect each other's time, you guys. And we also need to learn when to speak and when not to speak. Everything somebody's telling you does not require your opinion. Sometimes people just want you to listen. And I know that's something I really have been working on for this last year, of just being quiet and listening to people. And sometimes I'm doing it so good, they're saying, hey, are you listening? I am listening. I'm soaking in everything you're telling me. And I'm learning not to invite myself into situations. Sometimes it's best just to be quiet and wait for that person to offer an invitation, then for you to put yourself in it. I know, chick, we all had to learn that. So don't immediately volunteer yourself into something. Sometimes your job is just to listen. So we need to learn to know when to speak and when not to speak. And I know the men on this probably are saying, yeah. Okay. I know sometimes we as women run off at the mouth, so I'm going to get on us first. We're always, sometimes, well, I don't want to say always, but men will say, most women don't know when to speak and when not to speak. And I had a guy tell me that one time, and I didn't get offended. I asked him what he meant by it. And he said, it's all about timing. The minute I'm in the middle of doing something, that's when she want to talk. The minute I'm trying to watch the game, that's when she want to talk. The minute I'm trying to go somewhere, that's when she want to talk. So it's all about timing. It's all about timing. It's not always that the men don't want to talk to us. We just got bad timing. And then the other part of that is we come with that attitude a lot of times. And that's what turns them off, and that's why they don't want to talk to us. But we have to put that blame back on us, you guys. Some of us were raised in households like that where the mom was a fusser. She fussed about everything. That does not have to be your life, because nobody wants to hear that all the time. So in that respect, I understood what he said, and I said, okay, I appreciate you explaining that, because we have to learn with men, it's not always a good time to talk. And when they're in the middle of something and they're focusing on something, or they're needing to do something to relieve stress, like watch a game or this, that, and the other, we need to bide our time and ask ourselves, is this an emergency that we really need to disturb them right now? Or can we wait until after they're done? Can this wait until tomorrow? And that's going to require us to pull ourselves back and be the bigger person to say, you know what? I want to let him go ahead and do what he's doing. I don't want him to get distracted, this, that, and the other. But that's part of being in a relationship. You have to do what's best for that other person sometimes. And women, I know we get excited all in our feelings and stuff, and we want to talk about it right now, but that's not always the right thing to do. And I'm having to learn that now, that men need their quiet time, because they don't think like we do. We thinking on a dime. I dare say any woman on this page can do 10 things at one time. And a man could probably do maybe 2 or 3, and they don't mind admitting that, because they get so focused on the one thing, they don't have time to be worrying about that other, where women are taught as little girls how to multitask. And men normally focus on one thing until they get that done. So we have to cut them some slack in that respect. And then flipping the script, men need to know when to speak and when not to speak. Sometimes, that problem solver in them will get them in so much trouble, because you can try to tell them something and they cut you off telling you what you should do, and I don't know why you did this, and blah, 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 instead of being quiet and just listen to the end. You're not always asking them to fix something. Sometimes you just want to know that they hear you, that they're listening to you. It's not always something for them to do. Sometimes they just need to be quiet and listen and show some compassion. And it's hard for men to do that, because they don't like them long stories that we go through sometimes. Sometimes we just take them all the way around the loop and back instead of just getting to the point. And most men want you to just get to the point. So they also need to learn when to speak and when not to speak. And men tend to hold back their feelings a lot. So they need to learn when to speak and when not to speak. If something is bothering them about us or something that we did, they need to speak up on it at that time. Pull me to the side and say, hey, can we talk for a minute? Rather than holding a grudge and being mad, and you're trying to figure out why he's huffing and puffing all the time, because he's keeping things to himself, because he feels like that's what a quote-unquote man is supposed to do. That is not true. That is a lie from the pit of hell. You are supposed to speak and talk to that person that you're in a relationship with. That's the only way you're going to make it. So keeping stuff to yourself, letting it fester up until you explode and start throwing things, this, that, and the other, is unhealthy. It is absolutely unhealthy. So men, you need to learn when to speak and when not to speak, because we can't read your mind just like you can't read ours. So that part, he didn't like that part, but I put it out there. And then don't be selfish in your conversation. It can't all be about you all the time, because you know what? That turns people off. If every time I run into you, you just want to talk about yourself all the time. Can't get a word in edgewise. Nobody wants to hear that all the time. So we got to learn to dial that back, you guys, and understand that other person that you're talking to is just as important as you. So while you put this out about yourself, make sure you turn around and ask them how they're doing. Ask them what's going on in their lives. Don't make it a one-sided conversation. And we got to stop being so selfish, you guys. So those are the things that we need to learn how to communicate, those things. Okay? And then when we're dating, and I brought this up last week in the interview, ask those questions so that you can understand that person. There's no sense in spending all your time and your resources and giving a person all of your quiet time, your single time, and then you don't even know them. But you've given them all this time, and all y'all do is just sit around and play on your phones and this, that, and the other, and y'all really don't know each other. And see, the questions that you ask will help you learn who that person is. Because one thing you want to know when you're dating somebody is what kind of mindset do they have? You know, what's his attitude like? You know, is he quick to get mad? How does he treat the person that's waiting on you when you're at the restaurant? You know, is he fussing at them when something is not right? Does he have any compassion, any understanding? You know, when a place is full and service is a little bit slow, pay attention to those things because those things matter. Get off your phones when you're on your date. Pay attention to that person you're dealing with. And then also you'll learn about his culture if you ask the right questions, because you need to know about his heritage, what makes up his heritage, you know, what nationality he is, because different nationalities view different things on respect. They have different ideas of what a woman is supposed to do and what a man's supposed to do. So you need to know what a person's heritage is in case you need to understand what they view as a good woman or what they view is as a good man, you know, because different heritage see different things. And then their background, you want to learn about their background. How did he grow up? What type of things influenced him or her? You know, those things are important that you pay attention to. And then his nature. Is he friendly? Is he withdrawn? You know, is he social? You know, when people come by and say hello, is he just staring at them? Does he shake their hand? You know, you need to pay attention to those things because that'll tell you a lot about what you're going to have to deal with. Is he moody? That's going to be important. Is he stingy or is he generous? All of those things tell you about his heart. You know, what kind of heart does this man have? And then his spirituality. Don't be afraid to ask, you know, what faith, you know, do you believe in? Who do you worship? Those things are going to matter because if y'all are worshiping two different gods, y'all are going to have a problem. And you want somebody that you can talk to on a spiritual level, if that's what you're looking for in a relationship. So you've got to ask those important questions so you're not bumping heads on what you believe all the time. And then another thing you want to pay attention to is his manners. Watch his manners. See if he's polite. See if you drop your fork, will he reach down and pick it up, or if he just keeps eating like nothing happened. That's important. Does he open a door for you, or does he just walk in and just let the door hit you? You know, you need to pay attention to those things. Will he put the gas in your car? Does he sit in your car? And I'm so sick of seeing women sitting with men sitting in the car and they're out there pumping gas. That is just one of those things where I just want to scream because nothing about that is right, that she's out there pumping gas while he's sitting in the car. So pay attention to those things. You'll also learn about his intelligence with a good conversation. You'll learn. It doesn't mean that he has to go to college and have a bunch of degrees, but you'll learn about his intellect. Is he smart? Is he adventurous? You know, does he have a passion for anything? Those things are going to matter when you're in a relationship. And then the last thing you need to find out is how well does he listen? And then he may be looking at you, but is he even really listening? You have to check him and see if he's even paying attention to the conversation. Because some people are good at looking at you and nodding, and they haven't heard a word that you said. But a good conversation can bring him back to the conversation where he has to somewhat repeat what's already been said. So that's when you know that he's a good listener, when he can actually respond to something that you've already talked about and give his opinion on it. Okay? Now let's talk about one last thing. Let's talk about the results of good and the results of bad communication. So the results of good communication, we all know, is going to be unity. You know, they say communication rules the nation. When you are able to communicate, you get some things straightened out and you're able to stay together, and it helps you bond. Also, a benefit of good communication is forgiveness. Like I said before, when you express regret, when you let that person know you didn't mean to hurt them, or you did this on accident, when you're communicating that to them, people are quicker to forgive you when they know that you didn't mean to do something, or even if you did it and you meant it at the time, that you're sorry for it. So it brings people together, and it improves forgiveness. Another benefit of communication is respect. You know, I respect somebody I can sit down and talk to and look in the eye and do one-on-one. I have more respect for you than anything if I can sit down and actually hold a real conversation with you. I can't really respect people that have 1 and 2 word answers all the time. I find that to be kind of sneaky. I find that to be reserved, like they're hiding something. I need people that can answer open-ended questions, you know, that are willing to open themselves up. I have a respect for that. And it makes you trust them more when you know that they're not afraid to speak their truth, or not afraid to tell you a little bit more or elaborate on what they were talking about. You tend to want to trust that more, and you respect that. And then expectations. You know, that's a benefit of good communication, because people know what you expect of them. You know, if you never sit down and tell someone, you know, what you expect of them, and then they mess up, then how can you be mad when they didn't know that that's where the bar was set? You know, if you set a bar with a man, and he better not do this, he better not do that, but y'all never discussed it, and then he does it, and you lose your mind, he's looking at you like, why are you getting so worked up over this? So y'all should have had that conversation of what you expect from him and what he expects from you. And you need to discuss the things that get up under your skin, the things that trigger you, the things that upset you. That's a conversation that you need to have. You know, people need to understand that so they can avoid those things around you, or avoid doing some of those things in your presence if they know that it bothers you. But if they don't know, you know, and then you go off on them, you know, they're like, well, I didn't know. You know, and we tend to do that to people. We expect people to just automatically know we don't like certain things, but that's where good communication comes in, because they learn to respect your boundaries. And that's important. You have to have boundaries, but if you never communicate those boundaries, they're a waste of time. So let's move on to results of bad communication. Misunderstandings, fights, arguments, hurt feelings, bitterness, division. That's a big thing with bad communication, you guys. When you're not talking to each other, guess what? The enemy is talking to both of y'all. I promise you he's talking, especially in a relationship when y'all call yourself being mad and y'all not talking to each other. The enemy's going to send somebody to talk to you, and he's going to send somebody to talk to him, because the enemy loves division, and he's going to try to make that division as wide as he can make it. So just understand, you're hurting yourself when you decide, oh, I'm not going to communicate with that person. All you're doing is making room. You're making room for the enemy. It's better to sit down and talk it out, cry it out, whatever you got to do, but don't make room for the enemy to slide somebody else in there to start doing that good talking to that other person, because they're going to pull them away from you. And then ladies, don't chase after someone to try to make them communicate with you. Communication is voluntary. If a man doesn't have time to talk to you and communicate with you, he's just not that into you. Nobody's that doggone busy. Men, if a woman doesn't have time to communicate and talk with you, she's just not that into you. Because we talk to each other all the time, us ladies. So she's talking to somebody, she's just not talking to you. Okay? And so your mood affects how we hear. And how we talk. It's your mood. You have conversations when you're in a bad mood, you're going to have bad communication. Check yourself before you decide you want to talk to somebody else. If you're not in the mood to be around people, limit your conversation so you don't say some things that you can't take back later. And sometimes when you're distracted, limit your conversations when you're distracted. Because a lot of times you're saying stuff just to be saying it, and you got your mind somewhere else, and then someone can remind you of what you said, and you'll be, I didn't say that, because you were distracted. So make sure that your mood and your distractions don't cause you to have bad communication with someone. And the reason I said that is I had an example today. A lady was talking to me at work, and she was telling me about her girlfriend that lives in Dallas, and she was saying, I'm just so mad at her. And it was all about a text message. It was crazy. Her and the girl were talking, and the girl forgot to send her one text message. And this girl thought that the girl was ignoring her. And that ended up in a fight. So just understand, when someone is talking to you and sharing with you, and especially if you're texting, make sure you text them back. Because guess what? Not texting back, you're communicating that you don't care or that you don't have time. So make sure that you at least communicate back, even if you have to say, sweetie, I hear you, but let's talk later because I'm busy. It doesn't take but a second to do that. So let's go over our final thought. Good communication skills are one of the most valuable characteristics of today's woman. A lot of times people say that women don't know how to talk. Women don't know how to get along, but we do. We just have to choose to get along. We have to choose to listen and respect one another. That's a choice. So women can get along. We just have to choose to get along. Because you have to remember that you can tear down or build up just how you communicate with somebody. You can tear down somebody's spirit, just how you talk to them, just the tone that you talk to them. And you can build them up by encouraging them with the words that come out of your mouth and with the smile on your face. So we have so much power, and it's all in our communication. And let's love one another. And just remember, communication is a two-way street, you guys. But you got to be willing, and you have to be mature enough to understand that it's not just about what you say, it's about what the other person says as well. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. We are on our 4th year anniversary of Sister I Got You. So thank you guys so much for being here and being supportive and just posting on the page and just uplifting one another, because we all need it. None of us are immune to stress. None of us are immune to anxiety or problems. So thank you guys so much just for the encouraging things that you do, and for reaching out to your sisters, and even on your jobs and how you treat one another. Sister I Got You. We pray we're making a difference. Love you guys. Y'all take care, and I will see y'all next week. Talk to you later. Bye.